All right, what's the question?
Who were you at 19? How have you evolved? How do you see yourself evolving from here on?
So here's the thing. What I'm about to tell you, I'm not going to give myself any credit for anything, okay? Because I'm only going to focus on like who I wasn't and what I didn't like about myself.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was like 19 or 20, I was going through like it was a pretty long patch of depression from
Wow.
like 18 to maybe 20, 21. And then you add anger into that. So we'd be touring and stuff, and I would take my anger out on stage and scare people.
Wow.
And I know it's like, I'll tell people that, and they're like, no, you're so friendly. And I'm like, I
never saw
scare
that.
the fuck out of anybody.
I actually saw it, and you
Did
could
you?
see it in certain facial expressions in the
Yeah,
howl
and
video.
it was
where
yeah.
it's as sinister as
It was like I was having like a breakdown for a couple of
Wow.
years, and it got to the point where like we're doing that Pumpkins tour, and I was so angry that the tour manager, who obviously did the Pumpkins, he did Kanye, he did Ludacris, like he pulled me aside and he's like, you need to chill the fuck out. He's like, no one wants to be around this. And we were in Amsterdam, like I remember the moment where I just stormed off stage, and it's like I went through like a weird learning curve of like, no one wants to be around that, and people don't pay to see you angry. I didn't know it.
People pay to see some people angry,
Yeah,
but
I guess you're right. But but
it's not your spirit. That's not who you are.
No, and it's funny because I picked up a diary that I kept during like the BOD years of us touring heavily, and every single page is like, Dallas, like so unhappy, like, and I hate talking about this because it's like I don't want to be the dude who's like, I'm fucking crazy, because like I'm fine. But it was like wanna die, Dallas, and then it was like Austin, like wanna kill myself, and then I kept flipping through it, and it was like London, like so unhappy, like so tired.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild, and I look back at it and laugh now. But at the time, I was just like, Jesus, I was a wreck.
Were you sharing these feelings
Nope.
with anyone?
Because I thought being a leader was my whole leadership aesthetic with the band was everyone take care of yourself. I'm in so much pain right now that I can't possibly be there for other people.
Wow.
So I need to take care of myself. And doing that, you just isolate everybody.
Right.
So I didn't tell anybody about it. And then it wasn't until I started doing TM, which is Transcendental Meditation, like, which I started because I read David Lynch's book, Catching the Big Fish, that it took away my anger in days.
Wow.
The first time I did it, I felt sublime. Like you do it sometimes and you feel this like full body orgasm, and it's
Wow.
like it's presence, it's bliss. It's like going to that like endless consciousness. So like that helped me a lot. And
do you know what caused the anger? What were the triggers?
it was just not being happy with things. Like I wasn't happy with our set, so I would trash guitars. And I wasn't happy with how we were doing things. And I was so green to the whole thing that I was a control, not a control freak, but I held everybody to like an unfair standard. So then when I broke that standard, it's a complete like hypocrisy.
Wow.
Instead of just like trusting things and letting it be. And I also think too, I think the biggest thing is I didn't want to work on myself. So I would get up on stage, I couldn't sing the notes, I couldn't play as well as I wanted to. And instead of saying, oh, how about I go work on myself for 2 months and then come back and I can do it, I'm just gonna get fucking angry and take it out on our guitar tech or our bass player.
The bottom line, that's insecurity.
It is insecurity. And it's a fear of looking at yourself in honesty and saying, well, fuck, the mental image I have of myself versus who I actually am they're a mile apart. And instead of saying like, well, what can I do today to change that? It was more just like, it's easier to like scare. It was fucked up. I mean, there was a couple points where like, I remember a guitar tech or even Dan or like our tour manager, like being afraid to talk to me because they're just like, whoa,
Oh boy.
you know? So
somehow you kept this from the label.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Well, but you have to understand
we
too, like
would've
I'm an
been there
only
for you.
child. I don't,
Right, you're not
communication's
used to-
not my forte. I don't communicate with people. And it's like, it's such a, like, for me to actually tell somebody how I really feel, like that was that seems like landing on Mars until a couple of years ago, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the biggest shift I've had in the past couple of years is you add during that time, leading with insecurity, leading with fear, I was courageous because I was too stupid to know better. It wasn't like, yo, I'm standing on solid ground and this is the calculated risk I want to take. This is who I want to be. It was more like I had people in my ear telling me I was great. So I was like, well, I'm great. And then people telling me, oh, you're bad. And I'd say, well, I'm bad. And not having that kind of internal like affirmation that I know who I am. So I think, and yoga fits in with this a lot because it was the same time period where I was like, I just need to, it was after probably a year or two ago where I was like, I just need to focus on myself, learn how to like write, sing, produce, record, and just be me.
Yeah.
And not get affirmation from other people, you know?
Right. Well, and I think
what they
nothing,
think about me.
in my
If they like my music,
experience-
that's great. If they don't, that's great too. I know I fucking love it, you know?
Right. And
So-
in my experience, nothing causes more anxiety or depression than not allowing yourself to be who you really are.
Well, that's the thing too. And then it was like at the same time, I found myself in a relationship where I felt half alive, and I felt I couldn't be myself, to the point where other people were picking up on it. Like Catherine was like, "Man, you're not singing with emotion," and I'm like, "Why is that?" And then I said, "Oh, because I'm in a relationship where I've cut myself off."
Ugh.
And it's like, if you try to cut the sad out of your life by hiding in someone else, you're gonna cut the happiness out too. And you're gonna be in this awful mid level where you don't feel anything.
Right.
So like, and it got to a point too where like my clothes were all black. I had no color in my wardrobe. So
That's sure changed.
right, but it goes
Mr.
like
Furley.
to circle back to where Furley.
Mr. Furley sometimes.
Oh no.
You dress
No.
like Mr. Furley.
So to like circle back to like where we are here, when I have a teenager coming up to me after these shows and they're like, "You were so genuine and authentic," and I love it. For me, that's like the biggest compliment.
I agree.
Because I had to work so much to get to a point where I was like, I'm okay with being myself. If other
People
people
are
like
drawn
it,
to
that's great.
that.
Well, yeah, you know,
Especially teenagers, because they're still trying to
they're
figure
trying to
that
figure
shit
it out
out.
too. Yeah, it's hard being a teenager right now. So I think to go back to that, like I'm thankful for everything. You know, it's like I'll have days where I'm like, yo, I'm almost dead. Like this is freaking me out. You know, like I wish I
Well,
would have done more with
If
my life.
you're almost
but-
dead, I'm double almost dead. So let's not talk about that.
I mean, it's like everybody's on their own path, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm just thankful to be. The biggest thing. The biggest thing too was the last thing I'll say was I didn't enjoy playing shows and being on stage. Like I loved it, but I couldn't let myself enjoy it. And now I'm having the time of my life.
Well, that's great.
And that makes a difference because I'm like, if
it
you're not,
does. I mean, if you're not having fun.
then go work at a bank or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, and shake the head and scoff, say, tapping a boy. It's only